What would you like to see happen with the retail presence on the 800 block of East Johnson Street? And how would you promote the success of the retail establishments on this block?
I've been in and talking with a number of different business owners and managers and employees, and there's a number of things, speaking with them and concerns that they've had that I think can really be done to help the businesses. And there's sort of very easy, simple things you can do on day one, and then more medium and long term. Right off the bat, I think there can be a much better use of, emails and email lists to really bring the neighborhood together, to let them know about what's going on in the neighborhood with the businesses. A lot of the businesses have expressed, when the MoCA does gallery nights, citywide gallery nights, all of a sudden all the neighbors come down and start going to the local shops. And I'm sure everyone here will bring up, there's the discussion about changing East Johnson to a two-way street. And if you look at Willie Street, if you look at Monroe Street, they have that. They also have a grocery store, and they also have a number of other restaurants. And so I think that that's what we could do.
I don't think there's one simple solution for that in talking to a number of owners there. One thing I have to say that is there's a lack of understanding of some of the programs that are just out there at the city level that they could qualify for. And so I think there's a partnering between them and an education through communication of some of the programs that could help them. For instance, I think that whole district, that whole street and area could really benefit from the facade improvement grants that are out there. Right now, I think it's a one-to-one matching, but I think that one thing I'd be considering doing was seeing if we could find a way to maybe expand that and make it even more attractive if we have proper economic development and it works in our budget, to maybe expand that and to provide even a little more assistance to improve the facade of the buildings. And I think you're going to see a lot of this in redeveloping our neighborhoods along with the zoning plan that really takes a lot of these into consideration. So, with that, I think we really need to promote that area and have a sense of neighborhood and community there and make it an attraction and an alluring place for people to shop and dine. And I think that the walkability of it should be increased and enhanced. Slowing some traffic down, making certain there's ample parking nearby, which is something that people are interested in. It's only a few blocks from East Washington Avenue, mind you. So if we're going to be redeveloping East Washington Avenue, it's not too far from East Johnson, that section. So I think there's a correlation between the two. We're going to see that moving forward.
But it was vitally important that we end up with an economic development plan for the city that was actually proactive instead of us just being reactive. The East Washington Avenue corridor is absolutely vital for the businesses that are on East Johnson Street. We need more rooftops to serve the people who that would go to those stores. And so I think what we really need to do is we need to continue to fight hard so that projects like the Gorman project don't end up leaving our neighborhood. It's a project that we would have been at Don Miller. And unfortunately, we were unable to get that project to go through because of complication with the tax incremental financing policy. But I think that would have been a wonderful asset to the neighborhood there. The other thing that's coming up that has me very concerned for the businesses on East Johnson is the reconstruction of Johnson Street. It keeps getting pushed back a couple of years, and I know the folks at Cork and Bottle and others have just been breathing a sigh of relief every time that project gets pushed back another year. Because when the traffic isn't on Johnson Street, they're really going to suffer because there's going to be less people visiting their establishments. And the other final thing, which has been a problem since day one that I was in office, is the parking issue. The businesses can't seem to agree on how we should resolve this, but clearly one of the things that would help is if we could get, if nothing else, just a trial of a few parking meters down there to see once if that would help with the businesses.
One would impossible to stop there between the hours of 4:30 and 6:30, which is when you might want to go pick up a pizza from Supreme Pizza or stop on your way home and get a bottle of wine from the Cork. That's an issue that is going to keep coming up, I think, in these questions, and it's something that is part of my long-term vision for the neighborhood and part of my hopeful plan into the future to see that become a two-way street. For now, there are a couple of basic things that we can do to help ameliorate the situation. Step one, we've got to organize the businesses there. At this point, the business association is relatively defunct down there. We need to get all the business owners together, revive that business association, and explain to them what they can do. Step two, we have to work on advertising. Once the business association is back up, we can work on joint advertising where they can defray the costs of advertising for the entire business district amongst themselves and make it cheaper and more effective and more reliable for them. The way that those business districts work, just like the one on Monroe Street, is people go down there to go to one business, but just like a mall, end up shopping around. We have our anchor in Bernie's, we have another anchor in McCork, and beyond that, we really need to keep expanding that district. Right? I would look to use some mixed-use development, if at all possible, up and down the rest of the corridor, if it turns out that that is an option in the future. If not, again, we're going to have to look at traffic. And another thing that I think that we can do that's fairly simple is tie in our yearly neighborhood festival with that business district.